Hi, I'm Tom Spellman, and I'm here at Cal Poly Pomona at the Lyle Center for Regenerative Studies. And this is my good friend, Andy Wilcox, and he is the Associate Dean of Environmental Design here at the Lyle Center. The Lyle Center's been here for years, and during the COVID years, it was kind of shut down and wasn't really maintained very well. So Andy's dream is putting this project all back together. So we're putting in some fruit trees. We're putting in lots of different designs and multi-budded, multi-planted. We're going to put a big blueberry planting in, and it's going to be a really, really fun project. So I've been working with Andy for a few months on it now. Andy, tell me a little bit about what you've got going on, what your dream is here.
Great, thanks, Tom, and thanks for being here and all the help. Yeah, so the Lyle Center for Regenerative Studies we got 16 acres. It's a living laboratory on the campus of Cal Poly Pomona, so within the larger university. The Lyle Center itself sits inside the College of Environmental Design, but it really is an interdisciplinary laboratory. Anybody can come teach up here. We've got housing for students. We've got 3 different kinds of classrooms, plus the 16 acres where we've got faculty and students, all kinds of applied research and everything from urban wildlife to some of the urban agriculture that we're working on with your project.
It's just a beautiful setting. You know, you've got the ponds, and you were able to recover a fair amount of the old fruit trees from the original project, which I thought was great. But you know, now with your new designs, we're really going to expand on this project.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so the center's been here 30 years. And yeah, people have been planting things continuously. It's always been in some level of production. But yeah, during COVID, when campus shut down, we got down to 1 staff member here that was really only able to be up here part-time. Irrigation went out at that point. Some of the systems failed, and we lost probably 80 fruit trees. Of the of the older trees that have been planted. So we spent the last year and a half actually kind of trying to recover from that. And so that's what this project is. We've got new irrigation in, and we have been doing a hard prune on a lot of the existing trees. And then with the project with Dave Wilson Nursery, we'll be putting in, we've got plans for like 4 different kinds of orchards. But the one that we're working on here today is really the micro orchard program that's focusing on principles of backyard orchard culture. In what we have down there, which is what we call the Village Green, which is really where we're growing produce for food insecurity, or to combat food insecurity. Students growing food for students on campus. So these fruit trees will dramatically expand our footprint.
I think that's the greatest thing, that all the produce you're growing, you know, all the vegetables, all the fruit, all the berries, you know, that's all going back into programs right here on campus for the students.
Yeah, it doesn't leave.
I think that's fantastic. You know, fresh, locally grown, you know, basically organic produce for students right here on the campus.
Yeah, and with the orchard project that we're doing, I mean, we really are leaning into the orchard culture. A lot of that's been lost in Southern California, especially in our region. Pomona has historically been an agricultural producer, but a lot of that's been removed for development, all kinds of other things. And so this program we really think is going to be very different regionally, set us apart a little bit. And it also is, I mean, quite honestly, the fruit program, the fruit tree program, gives us another way to talk about agriculture. It's really communal based. So bringing people together to do the pruning, bringing people together to do the harvesting, which is, you know, a big part of the regenerative systems we have here.
And you know, you're absolutely right. I mean, the whole Pomona Valley, Walnut Valley, was all agriculture. It was all citrus and walnuts, and you know, just agriculture for 100 years, and that's all gone. In fact, the orchard here at Cal Poly Pomona is now the largest orchard in Los Angeles County.
I didn't know that.
Oh, wow. So, you know, and now we're expanding out on it again. So I couldn't be happier to work on this project.
Yeah, we're super excited. And we're also like excited about the variety. I mean, I think we're putting in about 120 trees today. And we got like 70 different varieties. We're doing, like I said, 6 different sort of practices of planting with the backyard orchard culture techniques. You know, we got the genetic dwarves. The multi-budded. We're going to do 4-in-1s. And you're going to show some of that. We've got what we call in our marker orchard, so like a really tightly planted one. We're doing some Mediterranean species around the perimeter, and really trying to kind of get all these different things working together so we can bring people up, show them, but also get, you know, quite a bit of production out of a really compact space.
Exactly. We've got a little persimmon grove going in.
Grove too.
It's going to actually become an outdoor patio. We've got a really nice raised bed blueberry planting that's going in.
I didn't mention the berries.
We have the blackberries
Yeah.
going in that you guys are going to use in a program making a blackberry ice cream, which I've tried and it's delicious. So
coming soon.
Yeah, absolutely. So Andy, thank you very much.
Tom, we appreciate it very much.
I'm honored to be working on this project with you, and I can't tell you how excited I am to move this forward into a sequence of videos on training people in backyard orchard culture.
We're really looking forward to that. I mean, we really hope that the center can be, I mean, it's got a long history being a community resource, and it hasn't been for a number of years for lots of different reasons. And we're really looking forward to having that come back, having you and everybody you're going to bring with us and all the kinds of programs that'll come along with it, so that people can be here, learn, be in community, you know, and feed each other.
It's going to be really fun, and you guys are going to get the opportunity to watch the whole thing from square one. I'm here with my friend Nate Satrape. He's working on the project here, the planning project at the Lyle Center. And Nate, tell me about yourself and tell us what we're going to do right now.
Thanks, Tom. I'm really glad that you're here with us, helping us out. My name's Nate. I'm the instructional support technician here at the Lyle Center for Regenerative Studies. I'm a glorified groundskeeper, so to speak, for this space. One of the many things I do is maintain our living landscape, as well as support research for student and faculty. So today, Tom is helping us plant many trees. We're planting a new orchard, and specifically, we're about to plant 4-in-1. And Tom knows a lot more about that than I do.
So this particular section is going to be 10 individual plantings of 4-in-1 trees. So in this little area, we're going to have 40 different varieties. The first group that we're putting in the ground today are all successive ripening peaches. So we have early varieties from May, early June, July, August, and our latest variety, Sweet Bagel, that goes into mid-September. So out of this one combination of 4, you can now harvest about 4 months worth of successive ripening peaches. So we'll get these laid out in the ground, we'll get them planted in, and then we'll do a pruning demonstration on them. Let's go, Nate.
All right. Okay.
So we've been soaking the root system so that they're going into the ground wet. And what we want to consider is, are any of these plants more vigorous than the other? So this, I would say, is our weaker specimen. And this is probably the most vigorous specimen. So when you're planting a multi-planted combination, you want to make sure that you're putting vigor to the north and northeast and the weaker varieties to the south and southwest. So this would be our northernmost plant. This one's fairly vigorous. This can go on the northwest side. This one's going to take the southwest corner, and then this one would be right up in here. So why don't you go ahead and start to backfill. We're going to kind of lean these out a little bit from each other, try and keep them about 12 to 14 or 16 inches apart. We'll get them situated once we get a little bit of soil in here around them.
So we need stability to line our trees up. So we're putting a little bit of dirt in now.
Yeah, we'll get some soil around the roots, and then we can get them arched out away from each other a little bit, get them, you know, spaced properly. We'll get them all packed in, and then we'll get them pruned so that we have our potential for this combination to be successful going forward. One of the things you always want to take into consideration with any multiple planted or multiple budded combination is you want balance. You don't want to let any one variety dominate the combination. So we'll prune the aggressive varieties a little more thoroughly and a little more effectively than the weaker varieties. And we'll make sure that we're taking out the centers a little bit so that each variety is eventually going to occupy exactly 25% of this combination.
Now here at the Lyle Center, we have gopher issues, so we are planting in a gopher basket that we pre-made a couple months ago.
So we want to make sure that we get the top root flare is going to be right at the surface. We want to make sure that we're not too deep, and we want the trees just angled out a little bit from each other.
So Tom, as we're planting, are there considerations for how deep we should put these roots in and how much we should cover on the trunk?
Yeah, absolutely, Nate. So what we want to do is try and replicate the same soil line that these trees had when they were at Dave Wilson Nursery. So you can see a little bit of difference in color down here on the root where it gets a lighter beige color, that's the level that they were at Dave Wilson Nursery.
Okay.
So we're going to try and get right back to that level. So a little bit more on this side. These look pretty good. Now you got to also take into consideration that when we irrigate these in, the soil level is going to compact a little bit. We're going to get the air pockets out, and it's going to drop a little bit. And we'll come back in and we'll detail out the final soil level after these are irrigated in and pruned.
So Tom, I noticed that these trees aren't perfectly straight. There's like a bulge here. What's going on?
So that is the graft union. That's where we planted a rootstock, grew it on for a season, and then budded into the tree, the cultivar that we want. So the rootstock is the motor. The rootstock is the heartbeat. It's going to move the carbohydrates and nutrients up into the trunk, and it's going to allow the cultivar to produce the fruit that we want. So, you know, root is for adaptability to climate and soil. The cultivar is for the fruit variety. So we're looking, these are all low chill varieties that are going to thrive in this area. And we want to make sure when we're planting these that all the grafts are exposed. So each one of these grafts is now about 4 to 6 inches above the soil line, and the roots are buried right to the depth where they were at Dave Wilson Nursery. So this is good. So now what we want to do is we want to open up the center a little bit, and we want to take back these structures considerably. This is not our finished form. This is nursery growth. What we want to do is bring these back far enough and uniformly enough that our next flush of growth is going to give us our scaffolding structure.
Okay.
So we don't want all this growth growing into the middle. So I'm going to take all this middle growth out. Anything that's broken definitely is going to come off. Same thing here. We're taking out that growth that's going back in toward the center. In the center, we want an area where we're going to get air movement and light exposure. That's going to give us a much, much better quality fruit as these trees become more established and fruiting able. We want to choose a uniform height to top all these off.
Okay.
I like about right there. So we're going to take everyone out at right about that same height.
Now you mentioned earlier that the more vigorous ones we might take a bit lower.
Well, I don't really want to take them any lower.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that we're bringing them all back to a balance now. Okay. And then as they grow out in the spring, we're going to look and see how they progress through the season. I'm going to assume that these may be a little more vigorous than the other two, although they're pretty well balanced. There's not a whole lot of variability there.
Okay.
So, you know, they may work out just fine. We may not have to do a whole lot to them other than a couple of summer prunings just to, you know, to build our eventual structure.
Now, Tom, I'm curious, moving forward through the life of these trees, are we going to continually prune the growth in the middle?
Yes, and you don't really have to. If you want a center growth, you can actually leave that in there, but it makes it much easier to maintain these trees if we keep that center open. And also, like I said, light exposure, air movement is going to give us a much better fruit quality.
Okay.
So this looks pretty good for our initial planting, our initial pruning. We need to get them irrigated in now, and then we'll check that soil level again. The gopher baskets here on this property are a must. You guys definitely have a gopher problem. So every tree that we're planting today is going into a sizable gopher basket to give it a couple of years worth of root space and let that tree establish. Also considering that in the next 6 to 18 months, you guys are going to be pretty aggressively controlling your gopher issues here.
Right. That's the goal.
All right, let's get some water on them.
Okay. All right, so we're about to water here. Tom, are there any considerations we want to take into account while we do this?
Well, here's the deal on this, Nate. For the first 48 hours, you cannot put enough water on these. Water, water, water. So we're going to irrigate these in three, 4 times. We'll soak them in really good. Late before you're done today, I want you to do it one more time. Tomorrow, do it again.
Okay.
So we're going to make sure that we get the soil totally saturated. We're going to get all the air pockets out. We're going to let everything settle in. We'll go back in one more time and adjust the soil level to make sure that we're right where we want to be, because you can already see we're dropping that soil down below where we want to be just because it's compacting. So
right before our eyes.
Right, exactly. So, but you know, now we have the opportunity to do that. You don't want to walk away from it until it's done. So
Okay.
we'll just water, and then we'll adjust the soil. And then today I'd like to get some whitewash on these. You know, it's going to be warm. It's going to be in the 80s the next few days,
right?
Which we haven't seen in Southern California all winter long up until now.
Right.
So these trees just came out of rows where they were grown 6 or 8 or 12 inches apart, and every tree was shading the tree next to it. Now we're putting them out here in the open. So the first few days in the ground is when they're really the most susceptible to sunburn damage.
Okay.
So right now is the most important time to get that first application of whitewash on them.
Okay.
So not only sunburn, but like you said, wind damage. It could help to protect against freezing temperatures. So it's kind of just an overall protectant that's going to keep that system from having any physical stress damage.
Okay.
So Nate, this is Ivy Organics tree trunk paint. It's a OMRI registered organic. This happens to be one that has a little bit of a color pigment in it. It's a grayish tone, so it's more looking like a natural trunk color than just a white. So, and they have it in several different colors, a beige and a white and this gray tone. So
we can subdue the color if we want.
I love this product. I've been using it for years. It's great for that, first initial sunburn protection and physical stress protection. So what we want to do now is just paint these right from the bottom all the way up to the top, right over the top cut, a little bit out on the branching. Most emphasis, we're going to paint the whole thing, but most emphasis should be on the southwest face, because that's the hottest part of the summer sun in the afternoon.
Right.
Yeah, and so that's where we really want to concentrate this and make sure that we have a good strong coating on there. So
don't miss the southwest face.
Don't miss the southwest face.
Not the southwest. This is exciting. I've never done this before, so learn another learning.
And this is the day to do it. Most people think about whitewashing when the damage has already been done.
Right.
I've looked at avocado plantings and citrus plantings and fruit tree plantings where they're like, well, okay, now I got to protect it from sunburn, but you know what? Sunburn's already there. So by doing it today, by getting this on there today, we're getting this protected from any damage that could happen over the next few weeks or few months.
Okay. Now, how thick do we want to go? Just spread it thin, or?
Yeah, fairly thin. You just want to cover it. You don't need. It's not like you're painting your house or something.
All right. So I did read on this container that this paint, unlike a latex paint, is actually porous. So that'll help with the tree's respiration and breathability and
absolutely
prevent rotting.
This paint actually does allow that structure to breathe, and that just like air movement, we don't want to clog up the pores. So this doesn't do that.
So we'll paint the wounds too, from our cuts.
Yep, paint right over the cuts.
All right.
So yeah, Nate, we want to go ahead and paint right over the cuts.
Okay.
And we also want to make sure that right at the bud union, where you have that little dog leg, hook at the bud union, that you get, a good coating on there, because that's also a point of open wound, even though it's fairly well healed up.
Okay. And same for our grafting wound. We want to cover that
up
too.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. These two look pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
These other two here. Thank you, sir. Getting the wounds there. Getting everybody covered up here. So Tom, why do we put the tags down here?
Good question, Nate. So one of the things that people often forget is to remove the tag off of the tree. And if you leave that tag on, they're around the main trunk, and that trunk expands out. If it's a good quality plastic tag, you'll start to girdle and constrict that trunk. So you can take it off and put it on a smaller branch, but since we have this nice gopher basket surrounding the trees, we'll just take the tag off and put the tag on a spot closest to each tree.
Okay.
That way the tag's always going to be there. We always know what each tree is. You guys are also doing a key map, so you'll have a map to everything we're planting, and the tag's really only temporary until that point.
Right.
So we just don't want to constrict the trunk. We've got our mulch in place. We'll get these irrigated in a couple more times, double check that soil level,
okay,
and then get the mulch on, and we're set. We're ready to go.
Great.
We're going to do a very light mulching within the basket, no
Okay.
more than maybe 1 inch. But then everything outside the basket, we're going to mulch right up to the top of the basket.
Okay.
So I want that. I don't want too much right around the trunks themselves. We don't want to cause any, crown rot or collar rot. So just a very light amount to keep the sun off the soil, and then a very thick layer out on the other side of the basket.
Got it. Thin inside, thick outside.
Right, right. And some people would choose not to mulch at all within that basket, but I think a half an inch or an inch is safe. That's not going to cause a crown rot or a collar rot issue.
Okay. I'm a fan of mulch.
I'm a big fan of mulch. Every project I've ever done is heavily mulched, and you get nothing but benefits. In fact, I'll tell you the 4 main benefits of a good healthy mulch layer. Number 1, it's going to keep the soil temperature an average of 15 degrees cooler during the summer months. That's huge. If it was only that reason, I'm an advocate. Number 2, it's going to make better use of your irrigation water by 50%. And we've done mulching studies over the years that have proven that. Number 3, it's going to give you that increase in bioactivity. It's going to bring back your mycorrhizal activity, beneficial insects and fungi that'll help the trees to feed in a much more natural form. Walk out into a forest, and what's on the forest floor? A layer of mulch that's built up over the years. So we want to grow our trees in as natural a form as we can.
I agree.
Number 4, what do you think number 4 is? What's the worst chore in the landscape?
Weeding.
It's going to eliminate 75 to 85% of your weed seed germination. So there's 4 great reasons to mulch, and I can't think of a reason not to mulch. So one caution, you don't want to mulch up against a flammable structure. So if you have a wooden garage wall or a fence, or if you have a stack of firewood, you want to keep your mulch about 5 feet away from anything that's a flammable structure.
Okay.
And that gives you a safety buffer for a fire zone. But anything else in my landscape that is not concrete or lawn has a 3 or 4 inch layer of mulch on it.
Okay.
And I've been doing that for years. Yeah, just maybe one more scoop right in there. Awesome. So probably this one bucket of mulch is going to give us enough to do everything we want to do within this basket.
Yeah, we don't want to do too much.
Nope, just a little bit.
Inside the ring.
No more than about 1 inch.
Now, do we want to keep some of the mulch away from the trunks?
You certainly can. You can, just draw a little line around that trunk and pull it away. So then once we finish the project, we're not going to do it today, but once all the trees are planted, then we'll get the rest of the mulch, and we got plenty of mulch behind us. So we'll get the rest of the mulch on the outside of the basket. We're good to go.
Give them a good start.
All right.
For the coming winter.
So Nate, thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
It's been a pleasure working with you today. I'm really looking forward to getting a lot more involved in this project as time goes on. You guys and Andrew are doing a terrific job here.
Thank you.
So we've talked about pretty much everything there is you want to know about planting and growing a multiple planted combination. We've got 4 successive ripening peaches in here. So we'll do some more videos as we go on other planting styles and types. And we're gonna take this project from A to Z. So I hope you guys liked it. I hope you guys can give me a thumbs up. And if you like it, please subscribe to the channel, Growing with Tom Spellman.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. Thanks, Tom.